Hello, everyone. Welcome to our broadcast. I have on the other line our dear John Lau, and he's going to be talking about our PPP, the newly replenished funding that we got just a couple of days ago. And we are going to be talking about it in a conversation method. And if you have any questions, feel free to type it. Or if you are watching this as a rebroadcast, please go ahead and type your comments or questions and we will do our best to answer that for you. We'll be on in just a few moments. In a minute, we're just going to wait for a couple of more people to log on so they can participate and be on with our broadcast today. Hopefully, this is something that you can get value from and to help you with your businesses. Hello to everyone who just went in. Hello to the board of directors of the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce coming in our show. And these people, as well as the business owners that are watching right now from their own computers or at home. Hello, Noni Bellarmino, owner of iDance Studio. And hello to our beloved Dr. Maricel Ananing, who is the owner of the Carson Dental. And we're glad to have you here. Please, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to type it up on the comment section. Hello, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. Hello.
I am so glad we are able to combat our technical difficulty problems just in time, right?
Oh, yeah. Today is much better. Thank you.
I know, and I see you in full color and I can hear you very well. So we can start by giving you some time to introduce yourself and what to do, who you are, and how to contact you, just in case some of these viewers would like to reach back to you for your services.
Well, sure. Thank you very much, Janice. And hello, everybody. My name is John Lau, Lau. I am a financial professional. I'm also a CPA. I'm a certified financial planner. We have an office here in the San Francisco Bay Area, in Burlingame, and in the East Bay in Danville. So this is, and I want to thank Janice for inviting me online, because the information that I want to share with you is very important, especially if you're self-employed. I am, a small business owner myself, and I just happen to be focused on finance and on taxes. So whatever information that I can share with you, I'll be more than happy to do that. So you can go to our website if you want. It's www.lfsfinance.com. www.lfsfinance.com. And if you have any questions that you want to send me an email directly, I'll be more than happy to do what I can to help you with your situation. Thank you.
Thank you, John. So just to keep our conversation going, why don't we go ahead and start talking about this new money that was just replenished and how this is different from the initial funds that were given to us, and apparently that's already out. So how is this different? How is it allocated? And how do we as small business owners avail of this new money?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. This new money is part of the new legislation that was passed at about 4 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. And it provides coronavirus victims. And of the $484 billion, 310 billion is now allocated to the Paycheck Protection Program. So that means now we have new money to help you with alleviating, hopefully, some of the financial burden that's been placed on you because of this virus. How it is being different is this. Of the $310 billion, 60 billion is earmarked primarily to community banks, credit unions, for really small businesses, and even businesses with no prior banking relationship. So the spirit of the money is to help small business to stay afloat. And so, the government realized that there's a little bit of a loophole with the first batch, because I'm pretty sure you have all heard that stories about, big national publicly held companies getting 10, 20 million dollars of the loan, and that is not really the intention. So now with the new batch, there is $60 billion that is allocated to, like I said, community banks, credit unions, smaller financial institutions. But I want to remind everyone that if you are going to be applying for the loan, you must do it through a SBA sponsored financial institution. It is not a loan that you do directly with the SBA, but with the bank or with a credit union. So, it is now available. So you need to get going with it and apply as soon as you can.
What about those that have already applied and were notified that there is no more money in the bank if they called, say, 2 days ago?
Yeah. So in that situation, financial institutions are different, right? Financial institutions or banks, they are run by people, and we are all very different. So my recommendation is don't assume anything. Call back to the bank, and we have to be proactive. Call back to the bank and say, listen, I understand now there's new money. I didn't get allotted any of the money the first time around, but the application is still out there. We still qualify, and we don't want to lose our place. So now what do? And ask the bank. And I do that personally with my bank. And, it's not Bank of America. It is not Wells Fargo Bank. It is a smaller bank. And so, my banker happens to be very proactive, and he stays in touch with me and, let me know what's going on. So I would advise everybody on this call to do the same. Reach out to the banker. Don't wait for them to call you, because as you can imagine, there are a lot of applicants. And if you don't call them, most likely you are going to be forgotten. So you call them and find out what's going on, and then just, go from there.
So why did some of these companies were able to get millions of dollars? Is this something that they was not on the original plan or the program? How did they come about to do this? Because I heard, was it Shake Shack was able to get $10 million, and one of the big food chains was able to get $20 million. And so was
That's
this
right.
something that was missed? Because again, who needs more help are the small business owners like ourselves, and the people who are on the call. We are with the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce of South Bay, Los Angeles area, and some of the viewers here are from our different groups of our networks as well that wants to know this information. Some of us are 1099 earners, So, and with that question is, would we as 1099 business owners would also be applicable to apply for the PPP?
Mm. Good question. So let me take them in order.
Okay.
So the first question is, how did the government that it happened, this big corporations, how come they get $10 million or $20 million? And I think you are talking about Ruth's Chris Steak. So what happened is it is an unintended consequence. So the law says and recognize that there are a lot of these big name companies in the food industry, in the hospitality industries. They are actually run by independent businesses like franchise. So you may go to a Hilton hotel, for example, and a Hilton hotel is run by an independent franchisee,
Yes.
and it is not necessarily run by Hilton. And so the original idea is, well, we gotta be all inclusive so that the independent owners of these national franchise companies, they will also be included in this PPP. So that's the original intent. Apparently, the unintended consequence is some of these companies that, I mean, they are nationally owned, and as long as the local place of business employs less than 500 employees, then the law allows them to actually apply for the money. So if they have multiple locations nationwide and collectively, that is how they get the $10 million and the $20 million. Now, my understanding, by the way, is that the likes of Shake Shack, Ruth's Chris Steak, they are now giving the money back. And according to the minority leader at the House of the Congress, House of Representatives, I mean, and Kevin McCarthy out of Bakersfield, and he issued a statement that says, if you are not entitled to the money, you got the money, you have until May the 7th to pay it back. And if you don't pay it back and we catch you, then we are going to penalize you. And at least that is what he is saying. So that is what I know. And so that is the first question that you ask. I don't remember the second question. Can you ask me that again?
The second question was, if actually I got sidetracked as I was listening to you, but this is a loan, correct?
Yes.
So do you know what the interest would be? And when is it going? When are we supposed to start paying it back?
Right.
If we get it.
Yeah. Good question. So my information is this loan, the interest rate is 1%. And a lot of the PPP loan, if you meet the requirement, potentially all of it can be forgiven. And think about the spirit and the real intention of the PPP loan. I mean, its name is Paycheck Protection Program. So the idea is the government is going to give you the money, and they want you to use the money primarily to keep your payroll and your employees employed. And so if you do that, then, the government, as far as my information goes, is that they are going to forgive all of the so-called loan amount. Now, if you don't do that, then you're going to have to pay it back. And supposedly you pay it back over 2 years at the interest rate of 1%. I have heard other information, but that is what I personally have heard. And so that's what I have. I think you also asked me, Janice, what if you're a independent contractor?
Yes.
If you're an independent contractor, you do qualify, and the SBA has clarified that. So you do qualify for the PPP loan. So the question, a lot of times, if you have actually filled out the PPP loan, there's a box that asks you what is the average monthly payroll, and then you multiply times 2.5 in arriving at the loan amount. So the question often is, well, what if I'm self-employed and I don't have any employee? So what is going to be the payroll amount? Well, in that case, what you need to do is to go to your Schedule C of your Form 1040. And if have your own business and it is a sole proprietorship, you go to the Schedule C. And if you haven't already filed your tax return for the year 2019, I would advise that you fill out a Schedule C anyways, because most likely the bank is going to ask you for it as a substantiation. And so you go with the Schedule C, you divide the net income by 12, and that is your payroll. And you multiply that times 2.5%, and that is your loan amount. So that's how you do it. But even if you do not have employees, you still qualify for the PPP loan. That's very clear.
Good. What about people who are on a corporation and the owners are not putting themselves on payroll, and they just kind of take an owner's capital withdrawal? Would they be able to also apply for the PPP?
Well, that fine point, to be quite honest with you, I don't know how to answer that. Because it is a little bit of a deviation. I mean, if you are a corporation, and even though you're the owner of the corporation, you're supposed to pay yourself a salary, okay? I mean, the IRS is very clear about that. So if you don't pay yourself a salary, and I know that when you apply for substantiation purposes, in my case, I can share that with you. My bank asked for the Form 940, the Form 941, my payroll information and articles. And so in other should dot the I's and cross the T's. And if you've never done that, I don't know what to tell you. I think that you're probably going to be sent to the back of the line. And, people with better documentation is probably going to be get allocated the money first.
This is when proper documentation always take precedence, right? If you didn't document it, it didn't happen, right?
Well, I tell you, I think it is a side conversation, but I totally agree with your observation, because, every time there is a government program or bailout, I mean, it is part of the system. And if you never follow the system, you try to kind of be a little smart and not pay yourself. You say, well, that's great, I'm going to save some taxes that way. Well, at moments like this, this is when, it is the time of reckoning, in a way. So as a CPA, as a financial advisor, I always recommend and advise my clients, always do it right. There are plenty of planning opportunities. If saving taxes is a goal, there are plenty of legitimate ways to save tax, and you don't have to shortcut the system and try to do it in these little smart ways, because at the end of the day, you are going to get penalized in ways that you never thought about. So that is a good observation, Janice, and that's great. I agree with that.
So if you do a shortcut, it's going to come and bite you at some point,
That's
right?
Yeah.
Another question is, would I be able to apply for the PPP if, say for example, my bank tells me there's no, we don't no longer have funds for the PPP, can I apply to another bank that I don't bank in?
Well, you can always apply to another bank, but then because of the limited resources. I mean, banks, most likely they are going to serve their existing customers first. But going back to what I said earlier, with this new batch, this new $310 billion, 60 billion is allocated to community banks and credit unions with the idea that, and the government theoretically realized that a lot of small business, and I'm talking about really small businesses, they may not even have any banking relationship. And so that is really what the $60 billion allocation is intended to do, is to really help, for example, women-owned business, minority-owned business, because, I mean, unfortunately, those are the groups that usually get shortchanged. And so that is what the $60 billion is. So coming back to your question, if you didn't get allocated, can you go somewhere else? Yes, you can, but I'm not sure whether if you are going to be put in the front of the line, or maybe you're going to be, put in the back of the line because you don't have a relationship. So I would say stay with the bank that you have. And if you can actually get a hold of someone on the phone that you can actually talk to, and this is where community banks come in on top, because I work with a community bank, and fortunately I can pick up the phone and I can get a hold of my personal banker anytime. Can you imagine if you're with a national bank like Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, you can never get a hold of anybody, and that is very frustrating. But anyway, in the way I answer your question, I would say stay with the bank that you're with. With this new money, supposedly they have the resources now available. So pursue with the same bank.
So give them a call as soon as we're done here with the broadcast. People who are on this call who have applied, get back to your banks and call them to see where they're at on the line, or just
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, today is Friday. I mean, they are working, and get a hold of them. And I mean, just keep calling, and that's all that I can say.
I did a little bit of experiment, and I went online and typed in PPP loan, and there's this sort of like a lending tree type of a pop-up that says, okay, apply here and we'll look for a lender for you. How reliable are those sources?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, how are they going to find a lender? I'm a little bit skeptical personally. And since you have done the experiment, Janice, I mean, I'm curious. Do they charge you a fee? I have no idea.
I did not go through with the application. I was just curious because,
Yeah.
say, people like me, they would be looking for other resources. And when you type in stuff like that, all of these pops up. And in this time of crisis, I know for a fact that there's going to be a lot of fraudulent entities out there who would try
Right.
and grab your money. So I mean, you're kind of leading into that, I think, when you ask me how much fee they're asking, because there shouldn't be any fees on the application, correct?
No, there is no fee. There is no pre-qualification requirement. I mean, even if you have bad credit, you're supposed to get the money, because, I mean, the whole idea is to help keep your business to stay in business. So you don't have to pre-qualify. There is no application fee or anything like that. And furthermore, if the loan happens to be forgiven, just so that normally when there is a cancellation of indebtedness, you would be sent a 1099 at the end of the year, and you have to pick up the cancellation as income, unless you can prove that you are actually insolvent. But with the PPP, it is very clear that even with forgiveness, that will not be a income item. So that is also a positive. And you are right, Janice. There are really a lot of scammers out there, and the IRS on their website. I mean, if you go to the IRS website, which is irs.gov, and you can look up a COVID-19 scam or something like that. And boy, the list of new scams. I mean, those guys are busy. So you got to be really careful about that. And again, going back to what we said earlier, follow the system and don't try to go out of it. Anyway, that's what I have.
That was one of the questions also. If somebody has, say, very bad credit, they are not exempted from applying for the loan, correct?
That's what the government says, yes. And the reason is because all the loans are guaranteed by the SBA. So the financial institutions, they really don't have any skin in the game, so to speak, because if you can't pay them, they're just going to get it from the SBA anyway. And also, if the money is going to be forgiven anyways, then there is no payment. And but having said that, my recommendation is this: we are all in it together. We are all affected by COVID-19. Please do not game the system. Do not apply for the loan if you don't need it, because there are a lot of businesses out there who really need it. And you are talking about not only businesses, but people behind the business, their livelihood, their family. So, I know a lot of, people treat this as, oh, it's free money, so everybody should get it. Well, so, this is the time when we got to really come together and help each other out. And if you really don't need it, don't get it. If you do need it to make payroll, sure, that is what the objective of this loan is. By all means, do that. And so that is just my personal feeling about this.
I also kind of read about the additional funding going back to the EIDL. Is that true? And can we still apply for it?
Well, I haven't heard anything about the EIDL, but the EIDL, which is Economic Injury and Disaster Loan, and that is you apply that directly with the SBA, and you can definitely do that. So the SBA, as far as I know, that program is still alive. Now, that is a loan that is not forgiven, by the way. And so the interest rate on that is I think it is 3.75 or 3.25% for for-profit organizations. And for nonprofit, I think it is like 2.5% or something like that. But it can take as long as 20 years to pay it off. So, and so you can definitely go to sba.gov, fill out the information. The way I understand that works, by the way, is you fill out the information. You don't ask for the dollar amount. SBA, based on the information that you provide, is going to determine what the loan amount is. And I'm sure you have also heard about the $10,000 advance. And that is exactly what it is. While the SBA is figuring out or deciding on the loan amount for your business, then they give you an advance. And the advance is up to $10,000 to tie you over until they actually give you a loan. So let's say at the end, they decided not to give you a loan. You still get to keep the $10,000 and you don't have to pay it back. So, so the government definitely is pulling out all stops to help fight the economic impact of this coronavirus. And so that's what I know about EIDL.
What if I already applied and never heard anything from SBA? I didn't get any email. Do I need to reapply again?
Well, I would suggest that you don't. I mean, if you have already applied, you should have been assigned an application number. And if you have an application number, that means you are going to get the money. It is just a matter of time. And so, and I know, I mean, I have clients who did it. It is all over the news that, you file the application with the SBA, and in 3 days, you get your money. Well, they didn't get the money in 3 days, and supposedly it is direct deposit into your bank account. So they didn't get the money in 3 days. So they call on the sheet that shows your application number. So if you call the phone number, I understand someone actually answered the phone, believe it or not. And so anyway, at the end, in about 2 or 3 weeks, he got the money. So, I mean, SBA is inundated by all of this application, as you can imagine. So I would say that, if you already have an application number confirmation, and you should also be getting emails to give you update, because the client that I was referring to, he received emails that says, oh, your application, your EIDL is being reviewed, and it is going to be coming, but it is taking longer, and language like that. So at least he is in the loop, and he knows that he is on SBA's radar, and so ultimately he received the money, and so that is that.
Okay. Because actually, I was speaking about my own personal experiences. I did apply the moment it was available, and I did get that confirmation or application number. But up to now, I have not received anything from them, and I'm wondering if I should go back in and reapply. But like you said, probably on queue and did not make the first wave of payments. And now that it's replenished, I am hoping that at some point I will receive some sort of a confirmation that they did receive the application and it's on its way.
So to that, I would say 2 things. Number one is also check your spam folder. So in case if SBA send you notices, and it goes right into spam. So check that. The other thing is, I do believe that on your application number confirmation, there is a phone number at the bottom. Call them, Janice. I don't know if you did, but my client was telling me, and he was really surprised that when he called, someone actually answered the phone. And so call them and tell them what you just told me and see what they say.
That's good to know, because the reason why I wasn't calling is I was anticipating 2-3 hours the whole time, and nobody is going to be answered by a robot, because I'm going to be busy. But we have been on this conversation for 30 minutes now, and I know that I only booked you for 30 minutes, so I don't see any questions at the moment. Hopefully, if people are watching, if you have any questions, please quickly type it in. I can only hold Mr. John Lau's time, or he'll start charging me by the hours. So I really enjoy this conversation, and I don't have any more on my notes that we did not go through. If you have maybe final notes, maybe recap those important points that we went through earlier, please go ahead and do so the people that maybe logged in a little bit later, they can get that important just bullet points of what we talked about earlier.
Yeah, I think that the most important thing, as far as the PPP loan or even the EIDL, I mean, you cannot wait. You should not wait. And if you don't know how to fill out the application, you don't know what is included in qualified wages, you have any question, my recommendation is to reach out to your CPA or your accountant. I mean, that is what they should be able to help you with that. But in any event, send in the application, and all the numbers have to match, by the way. So in other words, if you say, well, the average monthly wage is, let's say, $5,000, well, then there's got to be backup. And a backup is your 940, your 941, that ought to show how you come up with the $5,000 average monthly wage. And then you multiply that times 2.5 times, and that gives you the loan. So everything is going to have to match. But time is of the essence. So do that now. And by the way, the IRS now has a new link, and I'm talking about the emergency impact payment, $1,200.
Oh, okay.
If you have already gotten the $1,200, congratulations, that is great. And if you haven't, by the way, you can now go to irs.gov, and it will tell you what is the status of your payment is, and you can type in your social security number and all that. And if you want to have the money direct deposited into your bank account, that is where the IRS portal now allows you to put in your account number and a routing number. It allows you to inquire about the status and how you want to get paid. Do you want to get paid by them sending you a check, or do you want to get paid by direct deposit? So now they have it. So if you have not already gotten your $1,200 each, or if you're married and if you qualify. And so, that is something that I want your audience to know, so that they can go on the IRS website and check on the status.
This is the stimulus check we're talking about, right?
This is the stimulus, $1,200. Not necessarily for everybody, but, if you're under the threshold, and then, it is automatic. You don't have to apply for it. The IRS can look at your 2019 tax return. And if you have not already filed 2019, they're going to look at your 2018 tax return and to determine eligibility. And then they will automatically send it to you. I did a survey among, people that I know, and many of them already received the money. Some of them have not. And so, I hope you have already, but if you haven't, go to irs.gov, and you can check on the status.
Some of the seniors in my community is also asking, they don't file for income tax anymore. Can they still be approved for the stimulus check?
Yeah. So if they are the seniors that you're talking about, Janice, if they are already taking Social Security, then then the data to send them a check. Many seniors, they have their Social Security direct deposit into their bank. And if that is the case, it is even better. Then the government will automatically send it in. Now, if you want to be safe, you say, now, wait a minute, how does Social Security, which is Social Security Administration, interface with the Internal Revenue Service? That would be giving too much credit to the government in terms of coordination. So if you are not sure, then go to the government, go to the IRS site that I just mentioned, and log in, put in your Social Security number, and see where you stand. So that's that.
Are they able to call IRS as well, or
Good luck. Good luck.
good
You
luck
can
with
call
that?
the IRS even ordinary time. You call the IRS and you wait in line for an hour and a half. And nowadays, I would leave it up to your own judgment. But personally, I don't think so.
I think our conversation has been really juicy, and there's lots of information. Even me, with my need to know and my research, you've given me some pointers that I haven't even thought of before, or not even asked myself with. So. And you also said that it's really good to always have a good relationship with your banker, and it helps for times like this. Correct?
Right.
And then
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end, we're all people. And people, relationship is the key.
So also when you
Well,
file,
thank you very much for having me on, Janice.
yes, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate your time. And if I do have other follow-up questions, I'll just go ahead and contact you directly. And please, one more time, give them your
Sounds good.
information, your email, phone number, and a website for our viewers.
Yeah. Yeah. My email address again is my personal email address is jlau at lfsfinance.com. So that's JLAU at lfsfinance.com. My phone number, you can reach me directly, and it is 650, that's the area code, 401 4666. That's my direct line. And our website, if you care to look us up, again, it's www.lfsfinance.com. And we are up here in the Bay Area. And we think of it as God's country. So it's very nice. Come on up and see us, and we'll welcome you. And have a nice day, and stay safe, and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, John. And I really appreciate your time. God bless and stay safe as well. Thank you all
Thank you
for
very much,
watching.
Emma.
I appreciate everybody that came on to our show. And if you have any more questions, go ahead and do so. We will be entertaining questions offline as well. Thank you so
All right.
much. And you guys have a great weekend. Bye.
Okay. Bye.